Sara lived with her mother in an abandoned house on the outskirts of town. The weathered wooden boards creaked under every step, and the once vibrant paint had long since faded into a ghostly gray. Despite the eerie exterior, it was their home, a refuge from the troubles of the world. Little did they know, it was also a place inhabited by restless spirits. Late at night, as the clock struck midnight, the house would come alive with unsettling sounds. Scratches in the walls, whispers echoing through the long-forgotten hallways, and cold gusts of air that seemed to come from nowhere. Sara's mother worked late shifts at a nearby diner, leaving Sara alone in the house most nights. At first, Sara brushed off the noises as the natural groans of an old house. But soon, the occurrences became impossible to ignore. One night, while reading in bed, Sara heard a soft, mournful crying coming from the attic. Gathering her courage, she slowly ascended the narrow, rickety staircase, each step amplifying her heartbeat. With a trembling hand, she pushed open the attic door to find an empty, but eerily cold room. In the corner, an old mirror stood covered in dust and cobwebs. As she approached the mirror, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Behind her reflection stood a shadowy figure, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. She spun around, but there was no one there. The crying had stopped, replaced by a chilling silence. After that night, the hauntings grew more frequent and more violent. Objects would move on their own, doors would slam shut, and the whispers turned to menacing growls. Desperate and frightened, Sara confided in her mother, who dismissed her fears as mere imagination. One stormy night, while her mother was still at work, Sara heard footsteps approaching her bedroom. The door creaked open, and she was confronted by the shadowy figure from the attic, now fully formed and terrifyingly real. Paralyzed with fear, Sara watched as it reached out towards her. Just as it was about to touch her, a blinding flash of lightning illuminated the room, and the figure vanished. Terrified, Sara fled the house into the pouring rain, running until she reached the diner where her mother worked. Tears streaming down her face, she begged her mother to leave the house and never return. The dawn brought a sense of calm, and the two of them found a small apartment in town. The abandoned house on the outskirts of town fell into greater disrepair, a silent monument to the horrors that once haunted Sara. To this day, locals say that if you listen closely on a quiet night, you can still hear the mournful crying echoing from the abandoned house on the hill.